Good morning. Glad to see all of you today, and I would like to call the meeting of Senate Finance Committee to order. Happy Monday. I hope you all had a nice weekend. I would like to welcome everyone joining us in the committee room here in Carson City, and those joining us video conferenced in the new State of Nevada buildings in Las Vegas. And of course, those listening online. Will the committee secretary please call the roll?
Senator Buck, Senator Canizaro, Senator Nguyen, here. Senator Scheibel, here. Senator Stone, here. Senator Taylor, present. Senator Titus, here. Chair Dondero Loop.
Here, and please mark Senator Canizaro present as she arrives. Thank you very much, and before moving on to today's agenda, we'd like to go over some housekeeping rules. First, I will remind all committee members and members of the public to turn off or mute any of your electronic devices. Second, for those who will be providing testimony today, please remember to state your name for the record when you are speaking. If you are presenting public comment, please remember to sign the sign-in sheet, and if you have a business card, please provide that to the committee secretary. Lastly, there will be public comment at the end of the meeting today. Before we begin today, I would like to just remind everyone that this morning we will be hearing some of the bills that have been referred to Senate Finance Committee. There will be more in the days to come, plenty more. And however, please understand that these are just hearings and the bills will then reside in the committee until much later in the legislative session. Due to our funding constraints, no decisions will be made on them in the near future. And so I thank all of you for your understanding as we move through this process. So today we are taking a break from hearing budgets, and we will instead be hearing bills. There are 4 bills on the agenda and that we will be hearing: Senate Bill 133, Senate Bill 90, Senate Bill 135, and finally Senate Bill 190. So we'll begin with Senate Bill 133, and this is my bill, so I will be handing the gavel over to my vice chair. So if you'll give it just a minute, we'll process this move.
Good morning, everyone. I think it's very fitting that our very first bill hearing in this committee is being led by our chair. So at this time, I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 133 and welcome Senator and our chair, Dondero Loop, to the table. Just begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair, and welcome, committee. Good morning, Chair and the Senate Committee on Finance. My name is Marilyn Dondero Loop, and I represent Senate District 8 in Clark County, and I am happy to be here to introduce Senate Bill 133. This bill makes an appropriation to the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement Center to support civics education programs such as National History Day, Civics and Action Summits, Kidsvention, and We the People, the Citizen, and the Constitution program in Nevada's elementary, junior high, middle, and high schools. The Nevada Center for Civic Engagement opens the door to democracy by supporting teachers, empowering students, and engaging the community to create a more educated Nevada. Most notably, the center provides funding for the We the People, the Citizen, and the Constitution program, which promotes civic competence and responsibility among Nevada students. We the People complements the standard curriculum by providing an innovative course of instruction on history and principles of the United States constitutional democracy. Participants in We the People score higher on tests of civic knowledge and deposition. This means that students become more civically engaged, politically attentive, tolerant, and more likely to be involved in their communities. This past year, Voices in Voting, a nonprofit organization in our state for the past 30 years, joined under the umbrella of the center. You will see in this bill that a couple of their programs, mainly Kidsvention and Civics in Action Summits, have been added to the responsibility of the center. This bill makes an appropriation of $800,000 to the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement for the purpose of supporting civic education programs across the state for the students and adults. However, the center is prohibited from expending more than $400,000 in fiscal year 25-26. Upon acceptance of these funds, the center agrees to prepare an annual report describing each expenditure, which is to be delivered to the Interim Finance Committee. Upon request from the Legislative Commission, the center shall make available any accounts, books, claims, reports, vouchers, or any other records to the legislative auditor. Thank you, Vice Chair and members of the committee, for this consideration of Senate Bill 133. At this time, I would like to turn the microphone over to Ms. Christine Hull, Executive Director for the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement, for her remarks, and we are happy to answer any questions that you have, and we urge your support. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Vice Chair Wynn and members of the Senate Committee on Finance. I'm honored to speak to you today to support Senate Bill 1.
I'm sorry. Can I get you to state your
Yes,
name for the
I'm
record
sorry.
before you speak?
Yes, I wrote that down to remind myself. For the record, my name's Christine Hall, and I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement. Thank you for the reminder. I am a teacher, parent, and passionate advocate for civic education. I was also recently elected to the Washoe County School Board. And that is what we do with this organization. We encourage civic engagement in all its forms. I want to thank Senator Dondero Loop for her unwavering commitment to high-quality education and for all Nevada students. It is inspiring to be here at the Nevada Legislature, witnessing democracy in action, just as we strive to teach students every single day. Our founders saw education as the foundation of democracy. Yet today, the civic mission of schools is often overlooked. Low NAEP scores and declining youth voter participation highlight a growing civic knowledge gap. That's why NVCCE's work matters. Through inquiry-based learning, we promote critical thinking, active listening, and informed action, preparing students to be engaged citizens. Our programs have profound impact. I have seen it firsthand, not just in the classroom as a teacher of these programs, but in my own home. My husband and all three of my children have participated in our programs. My daughter will be attending the University of Nevada, Reno, majoring in public health and political science because of these programs next year. This is the power of civic education. It creates a ripple effect, strengthening communities and shaping our future leaders. Since the Bicentennial Commission in 1987, programs like We the People and National History Day have engaged over 30 million students nationwide. Nevada alumni continue to serve their communities in meaningful ways, and as a nonprofit since 2017, NVCCE has grown thanks to dedicated educators, mentors, and supporters who believe in our mission. Civic education extends beyond schools. It thrives in families, communities, and public discourse. We could not do this work without the teachers, parents, and community members who make these programs possible, and this appropriation will allow us to expand our work across Nevada in even more schools, ensuring that every student can access high-quality civic learning. Thank you. We're happy to take any questions you have.
Wonderful. I think we have a couple of questions. I'll start first. And thank you for bringing this bill. I know we had some of the students from We the People here just last week visiting the legislature, so I think that's fantastic. I know that during the last biennium in our last session, we were able to allocate $500,000, I think $250,000 during each biennium. Can you kind of explain what you were able to do with those resources during the last biennium and how you would utilize this increase this biennium and what projects and what you'd be able to expand?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Vice Chair Wynn. So in
And
the
state your name again.
Sorry,
I'm
yes.
so sorry.
No, you're fine.
I know it's a weird thing.
No, and I know I'm very aware of it, and I just keep forgetting. Christine Hull, for the record. So in the last biennium, we were able to expand our professional learning to be year-round. for our teachers. So instead of a one and done opportunity, we were able to go into several communities. We were really working on a regional model. So we were actually able to go to those communities in person and spend time with our teachers and then work with them year round throughout the year to increase our participation in our elementary and middle school programs specifically, as well as our high school programs. So across the board in all of our programs. So we were able to add about an additional 60 teachers this last biennium that were regularly using this work in their classrooms. A fun opportunity we had was in Lyon County just a couple weeks ago. We actually got to have the superintendent sit with us for a middle school We the People hearing, and the kids were just so impressive. But that only happens when we take the time and spend that time with the teachers so that they really feel confident in what they're doing. The other thing that we were able to do is through those professional learning opportunities, we're also able to provide the textbooks and any other materials that the schools needed so that it wasn't on the school to just up and add that to their budget out of nowhere. So we were able to provide all of those materials for the schools.
And then just the follow-up, with this increased request this biennium, what do you think you would be able to expand on those, or do you have other new ideas that you plan on instituting if this was to be passed?
That's a great question, and Christine Hull for the record again. So as Senator Dondero Loop mentioned, we've recently brought in Voices in Voting under our umbrella, and so we'd like to expand the Civics in Action Summit, which is where we bring students together. The last one we did was at the Nevada State Museum, and it was incredible, but we bring the students in and they have opportunities to engage and meet with elected officials, that showcase their learning as well, so the projects that they've been working on. So that would be an addition. We've been able to get to 10 school districts, but there are 17, so we'd like to get to all of them. And as we all know, Nevada is vast and geographically diverse, so it is not easy to get to everywhere, but we really do believe that going to the communities makes a huge difference. So that is our goal with this next biennium, is to increase the number of school districts we're in, and also to improve and increase those programs that we've taken on.
Thank you. And I think next we will go to Senator Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you to you both for the presentation. Good to see you, Madam Trustee. Just a couple of questions, and I was taking notes along the way, so I may have missed this. Can you talk a little bit about the number of students across our state that are involved in We the People? You talked a little bit about doing some things, middle school. I was able to be involved in some of that in my other life, but also the numbers of students that it touches across the state. And then if you would allow me, I'll have a second question, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Senator Taylor. Christine Hull for the record. So we estimate that our secondary teachers use the strategies and the work that we teach in our professional learning for all of their schools, all of their students. So that's potentially hitting anywhere from 120 to 180 students, depending on the school district, for each teacher that we work with. And then for elementary, 25 to 30, depending on the class size. So we estimate that on a yearly basis that we're impacting at least 6,000 to 10,000 students every single year with just the teachers that we work directly with. There's also so many on the periphery that work with a teacher who's in a professional learning, so that would be impossible. But somewhere on a yearly basis, we're estimating somewhere between 6,000 to 10,000 students. We'd like that to grow, though.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the follow-up, Chair. So in looking forward and in growing the program, I know part of it was because you added like Voices in Voting and so on. What's your goal for where you land, so to speak, with this?
So Christine Hull for the record. The end goal is that every single student in the state of Nevada has high-quality civics and history education. I've worked my entire professional career before when I was at the Department of Education as the social studies educations professional. I've always been passionate about how important social studies education is. So I would love for all, 700,000 students that we have in Nevada to be impacted by high quality civics and history education. Realistically, in this biennium, I would like to increase from 10 districts to get to at least 15 districts. And that includes charters and private and public schools within that district, that county, I guess I should say. So I'd like to at least have an impact in at least 15 districts and to double that number of 6,000 to 10,000. So at the end of the biennium, to be able to say that we impacted at least 20,000 students per year. Yeah.
And next we'll go to Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here. I think civics is critically important. I have 3 quick questions, if I might, Madam Chair. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Number 1, who is on your board?
Okay.
Number 2, who decides where the money goes? And number 3, what other sources of income do you have?
Those are really great questions. Thank you so much. Christine Hull for the record. So on our board, we have 11 members of our board. We have Dr. Sandra Cosgrove. We have Sean McClelland, who is a U.S. attorney. We have Andy McKay sitting back there. We have Ashley Nickel and, oh my gosh, former Senator Joyce Woodhouse. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of everybody as I'm sitting here. And several other attorneys. They're all listed on, sorry. I'm trying to think as we're sitting here. And then, what was your other questions? Remind me, sorry.
What is a decision? How is this
Yes.
decision made where the money is
Yes.
distributed?
So budgets, as with any nonprofit, we set up a budget for the upcoming year. This past year, with our appropriation that we received from the Nevada Legislature, we were able to take that as a foundation and write several grants where we more than doubled our overall budget through grant writing and fundraising. So we were not just relying on the appropriation. We know that that's really important, that we're expanding our reach. So we were able to get several grants. Unfortunately, several of them were federal grants. And so they've all, since they don't exist anymore, they've all been terminated as of February. And so we're readjusting our budget, but our entire board participates in budget committee meetings, and we work through them together and make sure that as much of that money is going directly towards students, whether it's working directly with teachers, working in the classrooms, and getting out there and working with the students.
Just to follow up on that answer, though, so the other sources of income, do you have, I don't see it in your handout, your actual financial page. Is it on, is it posted on your website? Where do we find what you spent your money on and overheads and costs and other sources of income? And this is the finance committee,
Yes.
so I'm
Yes,
just wondering
absolutely.
where that financial statements are.
Yeah, our end of year report should be on the website, and it was also submitted to the interim finance committee in December for the last legislative session. But I can definitely make sure that the full report for the last biennium is available for you guys. Absolutely,
Great, thank you, Madam Chair.
absolutely.
And if you look at the corresponding materials that they provided to the committee, and I would just tell them, the governing board as well as their advisory committee members are all listed on their website. So if you look at the things there, if you go to their actual website, it is all included there. And I also went back and looked at the December IFC when many of the nonprofit organizations came and submitted their financial information about the funds that they received during the last biennium, and they are also up online as well.
Yes.
So I would encourage our committee members to be able to do that. And if you do have some additional updated information, if you can provide that to committee staff. And next I'll go to Senator Cannizzaro.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And mine might be more of a comment than a question. So I just want to say I've done some judging at We the People, and I just think that these kiddos are fantastic. They're very articulate and able to really put together, I think, very cogent arguments, and certainly are impressive. And so I just want to commend you on the board and the board for bringing together, I think, a program that really is teaching civics to our young high school students, and allowing for them to have different opportunities to express that. And I've obviously participated in that particular function, knowing that you do a lot more with civic engagement. And want to thank the senator and chairwoman for bringing this bill, because she knows I love the We the People competition. So I just wanted to say that I really do appreciate this, and I love seeing investments in our education, which I would expect nothing less from our chairwoman. And so mostly just wanted to commend you for the We the People and just how impressive all of these young folks are. So I think mine was just more of a comment on that particular aspect, which I know these funds go to help support.
Vice Chair, if I could just add on to that, just as a side note, our Reno High School and Southwest Career and Tech High School in Las Vegas are both going to the We the People competition.
Wonderful. It's always good to see we have representation from both the South and the North, representing our great state in the rest of the country in these programs. Do we have any other questions from the committee members regarding this bill? Oh, Senator Stone.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm very impressed with the civic engagement that you're instilling. Can you, I got just a few questions. What was your biggest success in the last biennium, and how were these successes measured, number one? And how much in additional funding did you get from alternative grant writing organizations? And how do you ensure to reach a diverse group of schools, especially in the rural areas with your program?
Those are really great questions. Thank you so much, Senator Stone. Christine Hull for the record. I will have to say that I think our biggest success this last biennium was the very dedicated regional focus that we had this last biennium. So as many people in the northern part of Nevada know, there's a lot of high school success when it comes to our We the People program, but our History Day and We the People program in the rest of the state had kind of faded when we had that pesky little COVID outbreak, and it was a real struggle to get back. And so we knew that it was really, really important that, again, that we went into those communities and we supported those schools and weren't asking them to always come to us. And so the last 2 years, we've had a Las Vegas school represented at national finals, and I think that's really evident of how much we've grown. We also have teachers in many of our rural counties. We have teachers in Elko County. We have teachers in White Pine County, in Humboldt, and we absolutely love working with them, and we Zoom with them regularly. We've been able to get there in person several times, and so those are also parts of our success. But I would say that our ability to show those measurable outcomes of our high school program, because all of it leads up to that 12th grade year, right? So when we have our elementary students doing it, and then they go to middle school and they do a History Day project, and then they do a We the People the program, then when they get to high school, they are so much better prepared for that opportunity. And so that's our measurable success. Our grant funds that we were able to receive over the last several years have been in conjunction with the Library of Congress, Nevada Humanities, National Endowment for the Humanities, as well as the National Center for Civic Education. And like I said, unfortunately, several of them have been terminated by the federal government, but that isn't going to stop us. We're still absolutely out there looking for funds that will work for us so that we can continue to grow. So in each of the 2 years of the last biennium, we did receive $250,000 from the Nevada Legislature, and then we received about $300,000 each from each of those years from other grant sources. So, like I said, we more than doubled our annual budget through grants and other funding. Yeah.
Did that get all of your questions there, Senator
Yeah.
Stone?
Sorry. Did I get them all?
I think so. I think I got all three
Okay.
there. With that, I will ask you guys to step back, and we will begin open testimony in support of Senate Bill 133. And I'd ask people to come to the table. Please, a reminder, state your name for the record and begin your testimony when ready.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of both the Nevada Association of School Boards and the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. both very much in support of Senate Bill 133. These programs are so wickedly important for our teenagers to learn, especially in this day and age, the civics side of our government and an understanding of what that is. I have the pleasure each year of hosting a Civics 101 for the Reno-Sparks Chamber of Commerce where business leaders come in. All I can tell you is we need to expand these programs. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Andrew McKay, intimately involved with the Center for Civic Engagement. I've been involved in the board, although full disclosure, I'm technically not on the board anymore. Christine, I think that slipped her mind, but I'm still extremely involved. Former treasurer of the board. I served in that capacity for I think about 6 years. A couple of things. Senator Stone and Senator Titus, yeah, this is the Money Committee, and you need to know that as the committee that controls the power of the purse in this House, the taxpayers' dollars are going to be guarded studiously. And I think that's important. The staff at MVCC is absolutely stellar. As for the programs, I think Senator Dondero Loop and Ms. Hull certainly covered everything. But it's important to note not only does it obviously result in engagement in the process, knowledge of the process, critical thinking. I think most importantly, you know what these students learn the most is how to listen. How to listen and consider the other side. And we need more of that. I think we can all agree with this. I would just simply say, I enthusiastically implore you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Majority Leader Canizaro, to continue your support for this program. MVCCA has been able to grow significantly because of the support of the Nevada Legislature. And going back to our very first time we got an allocation in the 2019 session, it's the lifeline to this organization. And you've heard enough of me, and appreciate your time. Thanks to the committee.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Pruszinski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and I think the two speakers before me have said it all, but as a former social studies teacher in high school, I can tell you this is needed, and we need good citizens who are informed, and this program helps bring us to that end. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair. My name is Brian Wallace, the Nevada State Education Association, and a teacher here in Carson City School District. The Nevada State Education Association has been the voice of educators for 125 years, and ditto to the previous speakers, as well as that NSCA believes that a high-quality public education is the foundation to build and maintain an engaged democratic society, and this focus on student civic engagement is a critical component of our members' work. Personally, as a middle school teacher who taught U.S. history for over 17 years in Carson City, I have used these We the People strategies in my own classroom, and it does truly help make it fun for the students. It goes on to allow them to have true hands-on, meaningful, and engaging content, and to see their eyes light up, to watch them engage in debate, as previously mentioned, is amazing. You get the joy as an educator to see that light bulb come on. With that, our members ask you for your support on SB 133. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathaniel Wall, Clark County School District. I won't repeat anything, but I will just say we support these programs. I've had the opportunity to judge the We the People competition several times. It's an amazing opportunity to encourage anyone who hasn't done it to do it, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ashley Owen, and I'm an intern for the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement and a We the People alumni. I'm here to share my support for Senate Bill 133. Before participating in the We the People program, I had no understanding of civics. I could not have described anything that had any relation to government or its processes. However, We the People changed that. I learned about the importance of being civically active and how vital it is to have an understanding of government. We the People has completely changed the trajectory of my life. I changed my college major from engineering to political science, and I plan on running for office someday. I've developed a deeper understanding of what a democracy is and how opportunities like being able to share my support for this bill are what democracy is built on. Without the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement, I would not be the person I am today. I would not have learned how to have controversial discussions in an effective way. I would not have become familiar with the vitality of democracy or understand that it is my responsibility to exercise my rights. The Nevada Center for Civic Engagement and organizations like it are what our democracy is built on. Therefore, please vote for the funding of the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement, as it will have an incredible impact on our democracy, and without it, students will not have the opportunity to be involved in civics to the extent that is needed to preserve our democracy. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ava Beaupre, and I am a program assistant for the Nevada Center of Civic Engagement and an alum of the We the People program. Deciding to apply for the We the People program was the best decision I've ever made. Prior to my time in the program, I was an aspiring pre-med major, feeling lost and disinterested in my future career. We the People made me realize my passion for government, law, and politics. I'm now a political science major at the University of Nevada, hoping to one day work on Capitol Hill. We the People didn't just encourage a new major, but it transformed the way I learned about and understood the world around me. Studying law and politics in such an immersive setting gave me a greater appreciation for my nation and our history. I became a better researcher, writer, analyzer, and public speaker. I regularly go back to the testimonies my team wrote and research I did during my time in the program and use it in my college classwork. The academic benefits from the program are undeniable, yet I benefited most from the team around me. My team was incredibly successful, and I was fortunate enough to attend competitions at the regional, state, and national level. The bond I made with my teammates is irreplaceable. I'm a strong believer in the notion that you are the product of the people you surround yourself with. The students on my team are driven, smart, thoughtful, and kind individuals who inspired me to be a better person every day. To this day, their example of character and intelligence motivates me in and out of the classroom. I recognize just how fortunate I was to endure such a formational experience. This opportunity should be accessible to all, but Nevada high school students in particular benefit from a strong civic education. As young voters in a swing state, it's imperative that we understand our nation's histories and policies and what rights we have as citizens. Programs like We the People prepare our youngest generations to be involved, informed citizens while encouraging academic and personal development. It is imperative that this program is maintained and expanded in Nevada. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Dawson Deal, last name spelled D-E-A-L, and I serve as the president of the Associated Students of the University of Nevada, here to express our strong support for SB 133. One of ASUN's core objectives is to increase civic learning, engagement, and participation on our campus. That mission is far more effective when students arrive at college with a strong foundation in these values, and the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement provides that foundation. As a proud alumnus of its incredible programs, I can personally attest to their impact. From participating in National History Day in middle school to We the People in high school, these experiences shaped my understanding of government, history, and the responsibilities of citizenship. Now, also as a political science student with aspirations to run for office and serve my home state, I can confidently say that the We the People program helped me discover my passion for public policy and public service. It instilled in me a deep respect for our country's history and institutions, something I carry with me in my academic and professional endeavors. This bill is not just about enhancing the center's programs or providing for the training and resources that educators deserve. It is an investment into the future of our state and nation. Today's challenges are complex, but when our brightest minds engage in civil discourse with a strong understanding of governance and history, real solutions become possible. I urge your support of SB 133. Thank you for your time and consideration, and go Pack.
Ooh, right in front of the chair and bill sponsor.
Hate to be the last guy.
No, go ahead when you're ready.
AJ DLAP, on behalf of AJ DLAP on this one. We have clients and some other bills, but I just can't resist it. Police officer for 26 years with Metro Police, and I have had the privilege of sitting on some prep panels for We the People during my career in my capacity as a police officer. And I just have to say it was one of the most refreshing experiences that I ever had dealing with those kids as they dug into what the foundations of our country are. And so I would just urge this bill. I stumbled on it this morning, and I just think the program's amazing. It's affected our family as well. And thank you for giving me the moment to speak on this. Thank you.
And I don't see anyone in Las Vegas, but I will give people a minute. I see one person in there. So at this time, we will go to the phone lines in testimony in support of Senate Bill 133.
Thank you. If you would like to offer testimony in support of SB 133, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hi, my name is Kaylin Evans, and I am the president of the Washoe Education Association. We represent all of the certified professionals in the Washoe County School District. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee, for the opportunity to speak. And I just want to express my appreciation to Senator Dondera Loop for bringing this bill forward and for her continued support for public education. And I also want to thank Trustee Hull for her leadership and dedication to the students and educators in the Washoe County School District. SB 133 is an investment in the future of Nevada. Strong civic education is essential to preparing students for success, not just in school, but as informed, engaged citizens. Regardless of political background, we can all recognize the importance of teaching young people how government works, how to think critically about issues, and how to contribute productively to their communities. Programs like We the People and National History Day give students real-world opportunities to develop leadership, public speaking, and problem-solving skills, and that will serve them throughout their lives. We really appreciate this bill coming forward, and we just urge your support on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If we can go to the next caller.
Thank you. There are no further callers to provide support testimony at this time.
Next, we'll move to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 133. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. I don't see anyone rushing to the table here in Carson City. Do we have anyone on the phone lines in opposition to Senate Bill 133?
Thank you. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers to provide opposition testimony at this time.
And finally, we will move to neutral testimony on Senate Bill 133. Don't see anyone in Las Vegas or here in Carson City. Do we have anyone on the lines in neutral?
There are no callers to provide neutral testimony at this time.
With that, I will call our bill sponsor back up to the table for any closing remarks. And also point out to our people, just a point of thing, you can still be an engineer and a doctor and be civically engaged. So we don't want to lose out on any of those professions, but and I know that the program creates well-rounded individuals that go on to various levels of profession with that civic and historical basis and background that I'm sure they will take into their careers. So with that, I'll turn this back over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Marilyn Dondero Loop, for the record. I thank you all for your good questions, and I urge your support on Senate Bill 1.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, for that point, because I was going to make that too. You can be an engineer and you can be a doctor and still civically engaged. Just saying. So, and also I went to your website to look at your budget. It's not on there. So, just thank you.
Marilyn Dondero Loop, for the record. I would urge your support for Senate Bill 133, and I guess my closing comment would be, I want our young people to do what they are inspired to do, because there's nothing worse than doing a job that you don't like. So please move forward with whatever you like, but we are thrilled that you are all involved in civics education. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 133, and I will open the bill hearing on Senate Bill 90, and turn it back over to you, Chair Dondero Loop, to begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much again. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I am Senator Marilyn Dondero Loop, representing Senate District 8 in Clark County. I am presenting Senate Bill 90, which authorizes the reimbursement of teachers for certain out-of-pocket expenses. Our teachers are hardworking, dedicated individuals who strive for their students' success. However, helping their students achieve that success can often come with a real cost to our teachers. The National Education Association reported in 2022 that well over 90% of the teachers spend their own money on school supplies and other items their students need. These supplies can include paper, notebooks, pencils, classroom books, and more, which can be necessary for students to complete the work required of them and remain focused in the classroom. These contributions can cost an average of around $500 or more of teachers' own money. Some estimates suggest out-of-pocket expenses are even higher, averaging over $800. This spending, coupled with the very often low pay our education professionals experience, can contribute to feelings of fatigue, which exacerbates a chronic issue Nevada faces: teachers and support personnel leaving the profession. As such, it is necessary to address this practice of our education professionals using their own money to create an environment in which students can succeed. Not addressing this problem can worsen an already alarming shortage of educational personnel in our schools. I can tell you as a teacher, I have spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars in a classroom, buying everything from pretzels to sugar cubes so kids can count, to paper, and I continue to do that at my grandchildren's school every year. I certainly take the list, go out, buy what they need, and add extra things to that and send them into the school. This bill continues the bipartisan work we did last session through Senate Bill 339, which passed with strong bipartisan support. Senate Bill 90 appropriates $15 million to the Nevada Department of Education to create a grant program that will allow teachers and specialized instructional support personnel to obtain supplies and materials for their classrooms or for school operations. For those unfamiliar with the term specialized instructional support personnel, I am referring to school personnel such as counselors, psychologists, social workers, nurses, speech-language pathologists, and school library media specialists, among others. In terms of how this translates to individual employees, subsection 4 of section 1 provides that each of these professionals may receive up to $500 in the program, but may receive more money if from another source for this purpose if it is available. At your desk, you will see some of the campaign impact from last time. We allocated $10 million. However, $10,600,000 was spent because donors chose to put in that money to cover their costs. 17,411 projects were funded. 673 schools participated. 83% of the projects from schools with 50% or more of students from low-income households. This particular bill asks for additional funding, but covering over 2 years. What we found out last time we did this bill was we did the $10 million, and then the teachers the second year of the biennium did not have any funding to access. So what we chose to do is to make it a little more funding, but split it down the middle for the 2 years in the biennium. So there will be $7.5 million for each of the years in the biennium. I just cannot say enough about this program. I have heard over and over and over from teachers. I see all the time on our Twitter feeds or Facebook or whatever social media you may be on, teachers asking for scissors and pencils and whatever they need, a basketball, whatever they need to keep that classroom or that project going. I hope that that you can understand the compelling reasons for this to happen. The money that will be put out for these teachers to continue to encourage our students to do the best that they can. So with that, Madam Chair, I'm going to stop here. We will have, I'm sure, many questions, and I believe that there might even be somebody, maybe not, online. I'm not sure. So if we don't, we will answer questions. Thank you very much.
I will check that out, and I see State Superintendent Joan Ebert here, and I'm sure she might be able to answer any questions that you weren't able to. I guess I will start this off. I have some questions. I know that during the last biennium, we allocated $10 million to this funding, and on the campaign impact data slide that you had presented to the committee this morning, it indicates that $10,600,000 was allocated. Is that 600,000 like matching funds that Donors Choose donors had like participated, or was those kind of matching funds that sometimes happen on Donors Choose in addition to this money that was expended?
Marilyn Dondero Loop for the record. That was, those funds were allocated by Donors Choose as a choice by them to cover the funding that was needed to complete the project. And if I have misspoken on that, Superintendent, you are welcome to join me.
I see her. She's giving a thumbs up, and you answered it perfectly. I guess my second question is for those of us that have participated in Donors Choose, I know I've gone on to look at projects that teachers in my district are participating in, and sometimes you'll get like a notice that there's an anonymous donor that is matching funds or tripling those donations. Do you have any indication on the $10 million that was allocated? How much more in like private donations and donors and those anonymous donors were able to capitalize on programs such as this and our investment in a program like this?
Marilyn Dondero Loop for the record. This is phone a friend time. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent Joan Ebert for the record. So teachers can, as you noticed, put projects on the website that expend much more money. The simple answer is I can get you that information for the state of Nevada. That's one of the reasons why we enjoy working with Donors Choose, because it is a single platform where we can capture all that data and report out on what teachers have ordered, if they've asked for more supplies than what's available in the funding, and if they were matched, all of those pieces. So we can provide you with that information.
Go ahead.
Marilyn Dondero Loop for the record. And one thing that I would add there is that when people are concerned about Donors Choose being used, I think one of the things that we need to understand is all of this takes manpower. And the manpower isn't necessarily available at the Nevada State Department of Education. And so this is a program that can assist us with taking the order, if you will, and I'll write down to brass tacks, taking the teacher's order, purchasing what the teacher needs, and sending it to that teacher.
No, that's perfect. I know that sitting here on the committee, one of the things that I know is important to all these committee members is when we're able to see what kind of matching grants, what other kind of programs that we can do where we can cut through some of that red tape and we don't have to develop our program. And being a part of like that Donors Choose thing, I imagine that this $10 million actually looked like when I'd love to see that data, and it sounds like you're able to get that, because I imagine that this is probably more like $15 million when you look at all the matching programs that are out there and a lot of the anonymous private donors and other organizations that participate in this. So I think this is a perfect example where we're able to utilize state funds and really capitalize on those partnerships with organizations like Donors Choose, as well as the organizations and individuals that they are able to bring in to do those matching funds. So I appreciate that. Do we have any other questions? It looks like Senator Titus down here at the end.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate you having this program. I think it is critically important for the teachers and the educational professionals to have access. My question is, last session, the whole $10 million was spent. We just checked on that. Were there teachers that bought supplies or had a program anticipating that they might get reimbursed that were then not able to be funded. Do you have any idea about the applicants that you weren't able to fill because of the 10 million? Because you're asking to go more. I just wanted to know what the additional capacity or need was.
Thank you, Superintendent Ebert. For the record, it's not a reimbursement program. We used to have a reimbursement program with prior bills, and this has now changed to where teachers place the order online. So they're not expending money and being reimbursed. They actually go ahead and place it online. What their request has to be aligned with the Nevada standards, so our academic standards. So they need to address where they are aligned to our standards. So it goes through a quick review process, and then the order is filled. We went through the $10 million, I want to say it was about $9 million within 2 months. And so the demand is there. And as Senator presented, the second year there wasn't even any money available because we had run through it. What's exciting is that we had 8,000 new teachers participate in the program as well that hadn't participated before. And providing those resources, we have testimonial as well that we can provide you. I happened to pull up one from Elko and Carlin this morning. Just they're engaging the teachers, our educators know what they need in their classrooms with their students. And so they design those programs, they submit them, they are fully funded. We did not have during that first year projects that were turned away that qualified. To your point, were people not able to receive the funds that they wish to receive? Everyone that applied in advance, until the money was expended, was able to receive the funding for their projects.
Thank you for that. So I just wanted to make sure that if somebody went online, they would be able to see the money, no money left, that kind of stuff before they started down a project. Because and just to figure out how you came up with that $7.5 million per year and how it would be spread out. Again, Finance Committee. Thank you.
Marilyn Dondero Loop for the record. It was hard. I mean, I would love to give a whole bunch, but knowing the financial restraints that we had, we wanted to increase the funding, but have it 2 years in a row. And so honestly, it was just a decision made when I started doing the bill. However, if you all would like to do 10 million for 2 years and make it 20 million, I would be happy to take that. And I know the teachers would too.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question, and thank you, Chair Dondero Loop, for bringing it forward.
And honestly, I would encourage all of the senators to go on to Donors Choose, so you can see how they utilize that model and how instead of us, teachers sending in reimbursement, receipts and having to go through that old model that we used to have, how this has really streamlined the process and the vetting of these process and these state monies. So, I would encourage that. And I think we have a question from Senator Scheibel next.
Thank you, Chair, and Vice Chair, thank you, Chair, for this presentation. I have also utilized Donors Choose as a donor, and I think it is a fantastic program. My question is, so we set aside this $15 million, or maybe it'll be 20, to fund teachers' projects, and we utilize the Donors Choose platform in order to do that. Does Donors Choose retain any percentage of that $15 million to cover their operating costs?
Superintendent Ebert, for the record, that $600,000 that you saw normally went outside of this program that has been developed. When a teacher goes on to ask for a project to be funded. And I actually looked last night. There are several projects here in Carson City, so if you'd like to fund those, a portion does cover their operating costs. But what Donors Choose made a determination is to go ahead and fundraise to match, if you will, and so that was not included in the individual teacher's requests.
So, I mean, that's pretty incredible then. We get to set aside $15 million. We're able to give that money directly to teachers who are in the classroom at a 1-to-1 ratio. They spend $200 on paper and glue and felt and googly eyes and, number blocks and whatever it is they need to do to create their module. And they get paid, the state pays them $200. There is no overhead, essentially, to get this money from the general fund to kids in the classroom, if I'm understanding right.
Superintendent Ebert, for the record, the only thing that I would like to double check on is the shipping costs. And so I just want to double check on that before. I don't want to give you any misinformation.
I appreciate that. I feel pretty confident in saying this sounds like a much more efficient way than having the department develop its own grant program and utilizing staff time to review requests and process receipts and cut checks. I think it's a fantastic partnership that gets, the money where it needs to be in a very direct fashion.
And Marilyn Dondero, for the record, if I could just follow up, the other piece to this is the expediency. Most teachers get what they need within about a 5-day window. So that's the other thing. You could order on Monday, and the following Monday you could have what you need. You're not waiting months. Or, by the way, have to go to 3 stores to find what you need.
Senator Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for bringing this. I've been on Donors Choose, and it's really cool because you can pick what you want to donate to. I just want to make sure I'm going to walk through how I think this works, and it's probably not right, and so I invite you, either of you, Madam Superintendent, to correct me. So a teacher, we have so much money, right? We've worked with Donors Choose. They know we have, in this case, $10 million. Right, so a teacher from whatever school goes on and they put down the whatever project they would like to have funded, and the project has to be in alignment, right, with our academic standards, and they put it, and then as long as it's in alignment, then in 5 days or so they get the funding to pay for that. It isn't a reimbursement, right? I need $200 to do this special program for my kids for my civics class, right? Am I getting it?
Marilyn Dondero, for the record, yes, you have it. And the only caveat to that would be they cannot spend over $500. So it has to be $500 or less. So they couldn't send in a $1,000 project. But 3 second-grade teachers could get together and order what they need for a science project or a math project or something, and then they could share the equipment, certainly. So, but it's $500 per teacher that applies.
May I follow up, Madam Vice Chair? Thank you. So then I'm just used to sending in the money to Donors Choose, right? So in this case, the supplies or the equipment is ordered that way as well, and then it's shipped to them, so they don't then have to get on Amazon or go to Walmart or whatever they're doing.
Superintendent Ebert, for the record, that is correct. It is one-stop shop. They sit at their computer, they order their supplies, and then they are shipped directly to the teacher.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a great program. Thank you.
I just have a clarifying question. If a teacher has like a project that is going to cost $1,000, for example, or here, I'll give an example. I just went on there. There is a teacher, Miss Chappell, in Gardnerville, that is looking for a project that was $782 to fund. If she had that project, would she be able to submit that project and only get $500 from these matching funds, but then it'd be able to like fundraise on Donors Choose for those matching funds?
Marilyn Dondero, for the record, that is correct. So she could use $500 towards the project, and then she could continue to ask from anyone, right, any of us, to give towards that other $250 that she may need.
So I'm looking at here right now, and the thing that I just want to reiterate, because I think this is a fantastic way to like capitalize on other outside donors, is like right now she needs $391 to complete that project. And right now there's 2 times donations that are currently being matched to Mission Tiger, which is like another nonprofit organization that supports teachers. So thank you for that. And we have one final question, I think, down here with Senator Buck.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Wynn. I love the organization actually trained teachers in how to use Donors Choose and actually built that into evaluations that teachers are out there advocating and getting things for their classrooms. I was wondering, once a project is funded and say they get an iPad, does that stay with the district or charter, or does it, or is it district dependent on a policy? How does the, I guess, tracking of resources, or just does it follow the teacher wherever they go?
Superintendent Ebert, for the record, that is left up to each individual school district. We've had that question many times because some instances teachers will order multiple iPads. It is not, to be clear, it is not the personal property of the teacher. It does belong to the district, and then within each district they have made the determination of the tracking of those materials.
Do you have any follow-up? Okay. I don't see any other questions, so we will begin testimony in support of Senate Bill 90. So if you are in support, I'd ask you to come to the table. We have quite a few people, and I think we have some people online or on the phone line. So I'd ask you to limit your testimony to 2 minutes if you possibly can, and please state your name. Begin when you're ready.
Nathaniel Wall, Clark County School District. We just want to express support for the program and thank Senator Dondera-Loop for bringing this forward. And we appreciate the appropriation in the past. As the Senator shared, there's been a huge impact that we've seen. The school district gives the basics, but this allows every teacher to find what specifically their classroom needs and allow them to pinpoint so their students can be successful. So we just want to voice our support. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards and the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. Very much in support of this funding and the conceptual amendment that was brought up verbally by the Majority Leader previously. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przenski here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we're in support of this. One of the best things about this program is it takes the burden off the staff in the front office trying to reimburse and deal with all those issues. Hours of time were spent on that, and this eliminates that. So it's a really good program. Teachers get what they want, and the clerks are not going crazy in the front office. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair. My name is Brian Wallace with the Nevada State Education Association and teacher here in Carson City. Ditto to what Ms. Brzezinski just said about relieving some of the paperwork that happens within the front office. It is well known that teachers spend hundreds of dollars every year out of pocket for their classrooms. The National Center for Education Statistics found that 94% of teachers spent their own money on classrooms with an overall average of $479 spent. That total, of course, continues to climb today, unfortunately. As mentioned, teachers at schools with higher percentages of students eligible for free and reduced lunch spent the most out of pocket. On a personal note, at Eagle Valley Middle School here in Carson, I know several of my own staff members have applied. The one reason they love applying is how easy it truly is. I've been able to witness firsthand the impact that this appropriation has had on my students at my own school. Our educators continue to dream of ways to create highly engaging projects, and this appropriation allows for those dreams to continue to come true. NSCA has been advocating to reimburse educators for their out-of-pocket expenses for years, including expanding those who are eligible, which this bill does. Our members ask that you continue to support the NDE Partnership for the Distribution of Funds and support SB 90. And thank you if you have been one of those who have donated also. We appreciate it.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and members of the committee. I am Sarah Adler, and I'm here as the grandmother of 2 pupils at Carson Montessori Public Charter School to tell you that this program has created great, if somewhat expensive to me, habits. Multiple teachers at Carson Montessori are now using Donors Choose not only for basic school supplies, but for second grade science, engineering, bridge building projects and other ways that they are creating great educational experiences and reaching out to folks to support them. So I fully support SB 90 and appreciate your support. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm putting my trustee hat, Christine Hull for the record, Washoe County School District trustee. And as a former teacher, I can say that this has been such a successful appropriation over the last 2 years. I've seen all of my teacher friends love that they can do it automatically. I love all of the questions that you had to say. And I can say that I know the front office staffs of all of the schools really appreciate not having to manage all those receipts. So thank you for your support of this bill. And I know that my fellow trustees are also in support of this bill, and we are so happy to support our teachers in this way. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And not seeing any other people at the table here in Carson City. I don't see anyone coming to the table in Las Vegas. If we can go to the phone lines in testimony in support of Senate Bill 90.
Thank you, Vice Chair. If you would like to provide support testimony for SB 90, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, Madam Vice Chair. My name is Kaylin Evans, again, President of the Washoe Education Association. We just want to ditto the previous comments and just thank the Senator for her continued lead on this issue. And the reality is that educators already stretch every dollar as far as it will go. And when that's not enough, they reach into their own pockets because at the end of the day, they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that their students don't go without, whether that's basic supplies, books, or even snacks for kids who come to school hungry. Teachers cover the gaps because they know that an unfunded classroom ultimately hurts students the most. So we really appreciate your support of the SB 90, and thank you so much.
Yes, K9 support. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 397. Please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair. My name is Michelle Booth with Educate Nevada Now, a nonpartisan education policy organization dedicating to ensuring all Nevada students have the resources they need to succeed. On behalf of ENN, we appreciate the opportunity to express our support for SB 90. As we continue to face challenges in the education system, this bill represents a vital investment in both our teachers and students. Teachers are the backbone of our educational system, and providing them with the tools to get the necessary resources to succeed is paramount to ensuring the success of our students. This bill also has the potential to foster greater equity in our education system, as currently not all schools have the ability to purchase additional resources and materials to supplement an educator's classroom and lessons plans. It is essential that we provide our educators with the tools they need to meet the diverse needs of their students. We are grateful to Senator Dondero Loop for putting this bill forward, as it demonstrates the commitment and value of Nevada's educators and students. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Can we go to the next caller?
Good morning, Madam Beautiful Chair and the rest of the committee. This is Dora Martinez representing the Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition. We wholeheartedly support this bill. I do a lot of advocacy for people with disability, and we met one of the students who had a laptop from the school district and some of the buttons were missing. So I think this will be sufficient to fill in that gap. And thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Next caller.
Thank you, Vice Chair. There are no further callers to provide support testimony at this time.
At this time, we'll move to opposition testimony to Senate Bill 90. If you can come to the table.
Good morning, Madam Vice Chair and committee members.
Sorry, I haven't had to do this for quite a while. For the record, my name is Tammy Trio, Tammytrio. I am representing the Nevada Classified School Employee and Public Workers, NCSEAPWA. We are rural Nevada, in the heart of Nevada. We oppose this not for the reasons that you probably think, so I'll explain them. As written, and if approved, Section 5 of this bill will make appropriations from grant funding to certain teachers and specialized instructional support personnel to obtain supplies or materials for classroom or school operations. The Nevada Classified Employees and Public Workers Association supports the intent of this bill, however, must oppose due to portions of the language that may prevent our association members from being reimbursed from school districts for certain supplies and materials that they purchase. There is specific language in Section 5 regarding specialized instructional support personnel that does not allow for employees we represent a mechanism to be reimbursed for expenses they incurred to perform their job. The language says, without limitation, however, is very specific to job titles it includes. See Section 5A through G. Because of the way these titles are specifically lined out, our experience with school districts and their interpretation does not allow for reimbursement to our members. The language needs to include all employees. Our association leadership has heard from many of its members that the employees have had to purchase certain supplies out of their own pocket to assist with their job. For one example is a bus aide who works with special education students. She uses special props at or above her bus seats to assist each student with finding their assigned seats. This requires certain supplies to make their pictures. This is something that may seem simple and inexpensive to most, but they all do have a monetary cost. And if you have had the opportunity to review the pay scale of these employees at the lower pay scales, it's hard for them to afford some of this stuff. Our request is a simple fix. When you are distributing funding for these types of supplies, that you include language to include reimbursement for those workers that are often forgotten. Expand the reach. Thank you.
And you can ask of the bill sponsor at the end. Do we have any other testimony in opposition? I don't see any here or in Las Vegas. If we can go to the phone lines in testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 90.
Thank you. There are no further callers to provide opposition testimony at this time.
Neutral. Do we have any testimony in neutral? I don't see anyone in Las Vegas or in Carson City. If we can go to the phone lines, is there any testimony in neutral of Senate Bill 90?
There are no callers to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you. And with that, I will ask Senator Dondero Loop to come back to the table. I believe we have a follow-up question based on some of that opposition testimony. So if I can turn this over to Senator Titus to be precise and quick with her question.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and thank you, Chair, for bringing this bill forward. I'm just curious, did the classified employees reach out to you prior to this committee to share their concerns?
Marilyn Dondero Loop for the record. No, I did not hear from anybody. G, Section 1, subsection G, does say any other qualified professional. However, in the case that was referenced, I would suggest that the bus driver would have to, the bus supervisor and driver would have to okay those signs, for example, on a bus. And so that would be the bus driver who might be any other qualified professional who would buy those things. But no, I did not hear from anybody in opposition. Thank you very much for the question.
All right, thank you.
And I would encourage anyone that's in opposition to meet with the bill sponsor to go over any concerns that they have, and legal might be able to alleviate those, because I do believe that some of the things that were referenced were included in that subsection 5, subsection G, any other qualified professional, as well as the language that says without limitation. And with that, do you have any further statements to make?
Marilyn Dondero Loop for the record. No, thank you very much for your time. I encourage the support of Senate Bill 90, and I'll take any higher number that you all think that is relevant. So with that, thank you very much, and I'll return to my duties.
Wonderful. So we will be in a brief recess as we transition the chair back into her position, and just to give our next presenter, Majority Leader Canizaro, a moment to come down to the table.
Good morning. Thank you very much. So with that, we will now move on to Senate Bill 135, and this is Majority Leader Canizaro's bill. So we'll let her start when she is ready, and we look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the Senate Finance Committee. This is my very first bill presentation this session, so I'm excited to be here with all of you. For the record, my name is Nicole Canizaro, and I represent Senate District 6 in the Las Vegas Valley, and I also serve as your Senate Majority Leader, and it is my pleasure this morning to present to you Senate Bill 135, otherwise known as the Keeping Kids in School Act. This bill makes an appropriation of $4 million to communities and schools of Nevada and ensures that our kids show up to school ready to learn so our teachers can teach. The organization provides an evidence-based model of integrated student support services, sometimes also referred to as wraparound services, to support the basic needs, including mental and behavioral health and academic success of students. Ultimately, these supports help students with some of the highest needs in Nevada stay in school and graduate. As we all have heard, many students face significant challenges in school and at home that impact their overall academic achievement. These challenges were exacerbated by the pandemic. Absenteeism increased while academic engagement decreased. The persistence of these issues negatively affects students' academic achievement and graduation rates. In fact, a 2022 report indicated that high school graduation rates dipped in at least 20 states after the significant barriers students experienced in accessing needed supports and services. So you might be asking, why communities and schools? The Communities and Schools program has demonstrated efficient and sustainable use of funds with an almost 12-to-1 return on investment, saving the states where it operates from the ongoing costs that those who drop out of school represent in reliance on social and other public services. Additionally, the program's model of integrated student supports is the only evidence-based intervention for wraparound services currently approved by Nevada's Department of Education. The model also meets the federal Every Student Succeeds Act and most rigorous tier for student-level outcomes, with independent evaluations confirming these conclusions. And finally, the supports offered by communities and schools help alleviate pressures placed on our educators and schools by efficiently and effectively meeting student needs through support on campus. Communities and Schools currently operates in over 118 elementary, middle, and high schools across 4 districts: Clark, Elko, Humboldt, and Washoe, serving over 100,000 students. In the last academic year, CIS students have achieved a 97% graduation rate, with 99% of K through 11 students being promoted to the next grade. However, there is still a great need to expand services to more schools in more counties. You know, as somebody I think who grew up knowing that I needed to obtain an education in order to have opportunities, there oftentimes are things that are happening in your life that can inhibit your ability to succeed in school. And Communities and Schools provides that ability for a student to access those supports so that when they're in school, they can stay focused on being in school and focused on their academic achievement. I like to say, as I have worked with Communities and Schools over, I think, a few sessions now, every student needs a cheerleader and every student needs a champion. They need somebody to be there for them. They need somebody who can be that person who checks in with them. They need someone who can say, hey, if you're having trouble at home with this, with food, with clothing, with different supports that maybe your parents or whoever it is that you are living with might not have, that's where Communities and Schools really steps in. And I think the one piece that I love about this organization is that there are significant numbers to demonstrate how it is that this impacts those students, how it is that is actually contributing to their successes. And so when we sit in these committees and talk about the success of our students in education, so much of that is tied to their own personal story and the things that they may be encountering. And with the supports of an organization like Communities and Schools, they really can step up and succeed and be those students that we know that they are, and give them that opportunity that maybe they wouldn't have unless they did have somebody cheering in their corner. So it's always my pleasure to be here talking about Communities and Schools. I just love the work that this organization does. And I know, Madam Chair and members of the committee, we're talking about money. We have a long way to go before we can kind of figure out what that looks like. But when we talk about if we take state dollars and invest it, we're investing it in our students. We're seeing real outcomes. And I think that this is a very laudable program for us to consider with any money that we may have, just because of the success and how much it contributes to that academic achievement overall for so many students. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Tammy Hansler, the Chief Executive Officer, and Laura Meyer, the Chief External Affairs Officer of Communities and Schools, to discuss the program a bit more in depth. And after they speak, we would be happy to take any questions that you or the committee members may have.
Thank you very much, Senator Cannizzaro. And with that, we will, did you have any comments before we get ready for questions? Okay.
Madam Chair.
We do. We have a presentation.
Madam Chair, Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6. If the committee would like, we do have a very short, which we will keep very brief, presentation on Communities and Schools, and then we would be happy to take any questions.
Okay, that'll be great. We'd love to see it. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Madam Co-Chair. For the record, my name is Laura Meyer. I'm here representing Communities and Schools, and I'm excited to share some of the outcomes that we were able to achieve with the investment from the state in the 82nd legislative session and what we hope to accomplish with your continued support. Thank you so much, Majority Leader Cannizzaro, for your ongoing support and advocacy for Nevada's students. In the 82nd legislative session, Communities and Schools received an appropriation of $4 million through SB 189, SB 341, and AB 525. We were able to achieve significant results with that money. Over the course of the biennium, we've grown 28% in our schools served, from 92 schools to 118 schools across the state. We were able to increase our full-time site coordinator workforce by 20%, which allowed us to increase our case-managed student caseload by 20%, and our school-wide students served by 10%. We served almost 100,000 students with school-wide supports last session, and over 7,000 students received case-managed support. As the Majority Leader mentioned, we saw our highest graduation rate to date, with 97% of our case-managed seniors graduating. We set school-wide and individual goals for students and measure success towards those goals. They are based on early warning indicators for dropout. As you can see in our school-wide goals, we saw significant improvement. I'd like to focus very specifically on attendance, where in school-wide and student outcomes we saw improvement. This is where we see the most urgency for the continued need for our program. Chronic absenteeism epidemic is still rampant. We're seeing some improvements across the state, but we still have a long way to go, with 1 in 4 students being chronically absent, which is missing at least 10% of the school year. Over the last school year, 78 of our 110 schools chose to focus on attendance and chronic absenteeism because the epidemic is in Nevada as well as nationwide. 8 out of 10 of those schools saw improvement towards or met their goals, with 3/4 of them seeing at least a 5% decrease in chronic absenteeism, and 1/3 of them seeing at least a 10% decrease in chronic absenteeism. Because of this work and because of the state's investment, over 2,000 students were no longer chronically absent at the end of last school year. We very briefly are in 118 schools. I won't repeat what Majority Leader Cannizzaro has already told you all. I do want to uplift that we are an evidence-based dropout prevention program recognized at the national and the state level through the Department of Ed. This is a model of our program just to show you a little bit more in detail how integrated student supports work. As I mentioned, we were able to grow our site staff by 20%. Those are the site coordinators that we place in schools during the school day to help case manage students, to help provision resources for schools, and to help coordinate needs assessments, support planning, and then ongoing monitoring and evaluation to ensure that we are making progress towards both school-wide success and student success. There's certainly an ongoing need for our program. In the state of Nevada, 70% of our students live in homes that qualify for free and reduced lunch. In the schools that we serve, that number is often much higher, with many of our schools being 100% free and reduced lunch. We know that economic hardships create barriers for student success, myriad barriers for student success, that our site coordinators are able to address. And additionally, with the ongoing chronic absenteeism epidemic, we have students who are not even making it through the school doors during the day. The solution is a caring relationship with an adult in the school. That is our site coordinators. They create transformational relationships with the students they work with, engaging students in school and increasing student and school success. They also help create a centralized network of support with our 120 plus community partners that we work with. They bring resources to the schools, to the families, and to the communities that we work in to strengthen that social safety net and to have kids in schools during the school day ready to learn.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the Senate Finance Committee. For the record, I'm Tammy Hansler. I am the proud CEO and State Director of Communities and Schools of Nevada. Communities and schools, as you heard, I want to use some words. We are a non-clinical mental health intervention. By placing a CIS site coordinator on a school campus, we are a triage. We support our teachers, we support our administrators, we support our counselors. We are the first line of defense, helping all of our students get turned on to living so they can get turned on to learning. As you've heard, we're currently in 1 in 4 Title I schools. That is thanks to you from the money that we received at the 82nd legislation session. We still have a long way to go. Our goal is to be in every high need or Title I school across the state. There are 400 of those. We are a proven, evidence-based, and shovel-ready model to meet kids where they are and to give them the support, the basic needs, and the mental health support that they need today. And so this is why we're asking for your continued support and investment in our organization with Senate Bill 135, the Keeping Kids in School Act, to ensure that we can sustain and maintain our trajectory towards receiving every student graduates career, college, and community ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. That concludes our presentation at this time. We would be happy to take any questions that you or the committee may have on Senate Bill 135.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the presentation and the data. It's important. Thank you very much. Senator Titus, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you back up here. And thank you, Majority Leader, for bringing this forward and those who are presenting. I think it's a good program, but I do have several questions. First, Senator Canizaro, you mentioned in your testimony that it's the only approved program for wraparound services. Were there others that applied in the state of Nevada? Are others out there and we just approved this one? Maybe I need a little clarification, then I have a follow-up, Madam Chair.
Happy to take the question, Senator Titus, through you, Madam Chair. Tammy Hansler, CEO for the record. The Nevada Department of Education had several years ago, I'm not sure of the year, I can get the year to you, did a request for evidence-based or programs to submit to the Nevada Department of Education, and we submitted our paperwork, our documents, all of our accreditation. It also went through the University of Nevada, Las Vegas as their acting vetting organization, and we were the organization that was approved. I don't know who else applied or how that process went.
Thank you for that. And since you were the one approved, then follow up on that one question. Then, since you were approved, has there been another request for proposals then, or you've gotten it, and so no more people apply? You are the program that they approved.
Thank you for the question, Senator Titus, through you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if there's been other RFPs since then, but we can definitely check and get that information back to you.
And then a total different question subject. Thank you, Madam Chair. So you mentioned that you're in Title I schools. Are you only in Title I schools?
Thank you for the question, Tammy Hansler, for the record. Senator Titus, through you, Madam Chair. We are not only in Title I schools. We are in Title I or high-need schools. So Title I is obviously a designation on students that qualify for free or reduced lunch, means they live at or below the poverty lines. But there's many other reasons why a school would put communities and schools on their campus that are non-Title I schools. So we are proudly in other schools as well, where there are other needs where they can use our services. So that is strictly not just Title I, but any school that really requests out and could use our services.
Thank you. Just a clarification on Title I schools, if I might, Madam Chair, then anybody can answer this question. For a Title I school, they get obviously free and or reduced lunches, but they get additional funding, do they not?
Yes, they do. Thank you for the question, Senator Titus, through you, Madam Chair. Tammy Hansler, for the record. Yes, it's a federal designation. So through the federal government, where school districts get additional money for the number of schools that qualify for Title I, and then those schools can use those dollars for certain programs or additional teachers or certain things to help with the Title I status and get additional services to schools.
Can they use them for the same programs that you're offering?
Yes. Yes, many of our schools use Title I dollars to help fund communities and schools.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question.
Thank you very much. Senator Buck?
Thank you so much, Chair Dondera Loop. And I love communities in schools. I've seen you all in action and all that you do for the students, and especially in Southern Nevada. How much is it for a school to participate in the program, or does it differ per school, school district, or demographic?
Thank you for the question, Senator Buck, through you, Madam Chair. Tammy Hansler, for the record. We have contracts with all 4 of our school districts. It does differ for our cost model based on what we've negotiated with the school district and how they have earmarked certain monies to pay for our particular service.
If I may?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So do any of the schools you service have excess or carryover funds in which you can utilize? Because I know we had a conversation, say, in my district, Basic High School had millions in reserve, and I was wondering why, because of their school rating and their need, why we didn't utilize that to help the students, because I do believe in your program. I do believe that you provide wraparound and really support students. So I'm wondering why some of those schools, especially with high reserves, are not partnering with you.
Thank you, Senator Buck, for the question. Through you, Madam Chair. Tammy Hensler for the record. Yes, some school districts have allowed schools to use carryover dollars to fund communities and schools. So we actively work with our school principals and our district leaders to be able to utilize those funds as needed. It is certainly one of the appropriations that they can use. We actually have reached out to Basic High School as a part of our meeting and hopefully are adding them next year as part of our portfolio. Listen, we should be in every single school that needs us, and what we haven't done a great job of doing all the time is marketing to every single school, partly because we already have a waiting list of schools that want to add our services, and we can only add them in increments and sustain them. Obviously, we were able to do that at 28% last year, and hope to continue to add more schools.
Thank you very much. We will go to Senator Stone.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Majority Leader. That's the first time I've been kind of exposed to communities and schools in Nevada, and I have to say I'm very impressed, especially with the results from the 23-25 biennium. So it appears as though you're in about 100 Title I schools at this time, and forgive my ignorance about the program. You have a site coordinators. Is there one site coordinator per school, or is there more than one site coordinator per school? And what is their educational background if they have anything more than a bachelor's degree or less? And then also, could you just walk me through the logistics? We mentioned that we have a 25% absentee rate in schools, which to me is alarming, and I appreciate the 97% graduation rates that you've had a dramatic effect on. But can you tell me the logistics of what happens when a child doesn't show up to school? How is the site coordinator contacted, and what does that site coordinator do?
Thank you for the question, Senator Stone. Through you, Madam Chair. Tammy Hensler for the record. We are in, as you mentioned, 118 schools. About 100 of them are Title I. So thank you for the data. Absolutely correct on that. Our full-time site coordinators are CIS employees, but they go to their assigned school and work in their school every single day. So they really become part of the fabric of the school. That is, and many of our site coordinators will tell you they actually feel like that, they work for both the CIS and the school, because they really become part of the school campus and culture. We work very closely with administrators. If there is a counselor or a social worker on a school campus, we'll work very, very closely with them. And so usually what happens on a school campus is there's an MTSS team, a multi-tiered school support team, addressing some of these issues. So as your question about chronic absenteeism, you're right, still 25% is alarming. It was actually over in the high 30s right after the pandemic. So the entire state has done a really great job of continuing to reduce that, but we still have a long way to go. The process of involving a site coordinator really depends on every single school's campus. Our site coordinators, though, on many of our school campuses will pick up the phone and make phone calls home to find out why their student is absent, but they'll do that in a way that says, what do you need and what are the barriers that we can remove? A CIS site coordinator is one of the only team members on a school campus that does not discipline or does not grade our students. So we are really approaching them with a restorative basic needs approach in terms of what can it takes to get there. So if the team member, the family member says, we need laundry detergent, we have been able to wash clothes, and I can't send my student to school in dirty clothes, which happens often, laundry detergent will magically appear on their door through a CIS site coordinator. So we'll make phone calls home. We do home visits in partnership with the school district. We work on attendance incentives. We really have a very wraparound approach as it relates to that. The other thing I do want to add quickly is that with the dollars that you gave us this last year, every single school we added has been in a feeder pattern, which means that we've really been focusing on the elementary school, into the middle school, into the high school, which also means that we're now case managing families. And so if we find out that the elementary student is chronically absent and we know that there's a middle school student, we're also case managing and wrapping them around as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that one of the things that many don't have a total, and I'll use wraparound of the fact that kids aren't just not coming to school because they just don't want to come to school. Yes, there are those kids out there, but kids aren't coming to school because they don't have laundry detergent. Their mother never came home the night before. Their father lost his job. I don't know. You know, you can come up with 118 ideas for every school that you have, right? Those things are real. And elementary students aren't always in charge of sending themselves to school if they're little. And so if somebody doesn't get them up and get them to school, all of a sudden at 9:30, they're walking into school and now they've missed 45 minutes or a half an hour of school because somebody just decided, well, go on to school today. So there are varying reasons why these children need this service. So thank you. I think we will go to Senator Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Madam Majority Leader and the CIS people. I have long been a fan of communities and schools and really admire the work that you do for students that really need the help. Right, they really need the help. I have a question just on the model. I know that there's an appropriation that we gave last year, and you're asking for a renewal of that. But you also mentioned that schools pay. Help me understand how that works. Since we're a finance committee, Senator Titus.
I keep saying it. Thank you, Senator Taylor, for the question. Through you, Madam Chair. Tammy Hanselaar for the record. We are a proud public-private partnership model, and truly believe that everybody should have skin in the game. We have contracts with all 4 school districts, so in order to go onto a school campus, either the school district has a pass to pay a portion of the cost model, or the school decides that they want to pay a portion of the cost model using a variety of funds: Title I funds, carryover funds, general funds, the at-risk weight in the appropriation, so there's a variety of funds that they can make. We then fundraise anywhere, based on the school district model, between 40% and 60% of what the schools do not cover. So we're out fundraising for those dollars. We will always be a private partnership, and always philanthropy will always be part of our work. But if we're going to scale at the level that this organization needs to scale in order to meet every single student where they are, having state investment, as you can see, because we've delivered, has been an incredible way to reach more students and make sure that every single student has what they need in order to get across the finish line.
Thank you so much. So does the school pay per student? And can you give us an idea of what that might be?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the school, I'm sorry, sorry, Senator Taylor, thank you for the question. Through you, Madam Chair. Tammy Hanselaar for the record. The schools pay per school. So just as an average, the schools pay anywhere between $34,000 and $59,000 for the full-time person for the entire year for the full program. So that gives them their full-time site coordinator, their program manager oversight, a full resource room with paper, shoes, socks, coats, hats, gloves, bus passes, hygiene items, sometimes a washer and dryer in those resource rooms. So that is what the schools pay, and then, as I mentioned, we fundraise the rest.
That is skin in the game. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Senator Wynn.
I'm glad to hear. I guess it's just kind of confirming what you kind of alluded to. During the last biennium, obviously, the state was able to contribute about $4 million between 2 separate bill allocations to communities and schools. And you had indicated about how most of those resources were geared towards enhancing some of these follow-through kind of programs. I had the unique opportunity in one day to start at Rex Bell Elementary School, follow that site team to Cashman Middle School, and then follow that team to Clark High School, which were all like feeder schools within my district. And so I was able to see firsthand, as well as the washing machines and the need for really engagement in like these schools, like these kids in these schools really needed socks. These kids in these schools really needed like sanitary products, feminine hygiene products, as well as even things as simple as toilet paper. So I really appreciate that. Can you expand on how you were able to utilize those dollars from the last biennium to really like improve services and following these kids and families throughout the educational process?
Yes, Senator Nguyen, thank you for the question. Tammy Hansler for the record. We are very strategic in the way in which that we add schools. First and foremost, as I mentioned, every school has been in a feeder pattern, and we've very much deepened the conversations we've had with our school superintendents to make sure that they're understanding the impact that we're having on a school campus and how we're all working together for our common goals as well. Our site coordinators, and Senator Stone, I don't think I answered a couple of your questions, so I'll answer them here with Senator Nguyen. All of our site coordinators go through a very intense training process with communities and schools that is held annually and then throughout the school year. There's not necessarily a bachelor's degree that is required for our site coordinators. However, many of our site coordinators go on to get their master's in social work, their license in social work, their MFTs, or other areas of the social services. The other ways that we were able to use your dollars, in addition to adding more schools in that strategic way, and also investing in additional trainings, our site coordinators have been using developmental relationships, mental health first aid, and other programs. We've been able to use those dollars to additional with some professional development, and we've also deepened the impact in certain schools. So if there are certain high-need schools, if a middle school has 800 kids and it's 100% free and reduced lunch, one site coordinator may not be enough to help with the need. And so that is the other way that we've been able to utilize these services. Many of our schools will request an additional site coordinator. Maybe they can't fulfill their social worker role because there's not enough of them. Or maybe they've just seen the impact of the program, and so they'll add an additional CIS site coordinator on a school campus. So we very much partner with our schools to utilize the best way forward in order to meet the specific needs of each school.
Thank you very much. And as someone who worked at a CIS school, I worked at Elaine Wynn Elementary. And I think what I would like you to do, even though it's very clear in here, I just want you to pat yourselves on the back and give us the support services that you sort of wrapped around so that we ended up with 97% of these students graduating. Because it's just kind of interesting. Earlier in one of my bills, we were listening to students say, I'm going to do this and this, not that and that, because of the support or the experience I had with this program. Now we have almost the opposite, but the same result. We have students who are receiving services, receiving supports, and now they're going to graduate because of this project. So talk a little bit about what you went from to 97%, because I think that's a really important piece, because these are kids who may not have ever graduated, period.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question. Tammy Hansler for the record. There's so much there. Yes, the majority of our students are not on track to graduate. And once we get them to high school, we actually have another program that's part of our integrated supports called an academy class, and that really focuses on our students that are 3 or more credits deficient. The CIS model really focuses on the kids that are sitting alone, that maybe not have a friend, that are maybe experiencing a different anxiety or maybe experiencing some trauma at home and are put into adult situations way earlier than they need to be put into. And so those are the students that we focus on. Those are the students that need that additional caring adult to see them and to meet them where they are. So that academy class is just one other way that we're able to, it's an elective course in all 4 of our school districts in partnership with them. We're seeing our students every single day or every other day based on a block schedule, and we're working very closely with them to not only remediate their classes, but show them that there's other careers, there's trade schools, there's college, there's other places where they can use their native gifts, and they just haven't been exposed to it. So in addition to all the other things we've talked about, Communities in Schools pays for college application fees, we pay for caps and gowns, we help them fill out their FAFSA, we help with their families to show their families the way through. Many of our students are first generation college, so we remove whatever barrier that is to keep them to coming to school and being successful, and that has been part of the success of the program. And one final note, right after the pandemic, our graduation rate was 90%. So in the last 4 years, we have increased that by 7 points.
Thank you so much. If ever we needed to stand up and give a round of applause, this program is truly one that impacts, as you said, not only just the student, but the entire family and what they may need or what the support that they need. And sometimes it can be very little, and sometimes it can be huge. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for being here today, Senator Cannizzaro. I see no more questions, so I think we'll go to support unless you have something you'd like to add right now.
I can go ahead. I wanted to just I think touch on just a couple of things, if I may, Madam Chair. My first interaction with Communities in Schools was actually visiting my high school, Chaparral High School, go Cowboys, in Las Vegas, because they had a program at Chaparral. And I would encourage anybody who has not been to a Communities in Schools campus to definitely go, because I think what you will see when you are there is this really is an organization that provides, and you've heard some of that testimony today, everything from, a kid who can't make it to school because they don't have clean clothes to wear, or maybe they don't have transportation that is reliable. That's a very real thing for a lot of families. When you don't have reliable transportation, it's tough to get places. They have, areas where you can pick up coats and shoes and clothes, feminine hygiene products, other sanitary products for kids. But they also, are working with kids who are trying to graduate from high school and go on to a great career and to apply to college or apply to a trade school or get into a degree program somewhere. I remember when I went, wanted to go and wanted to be a lawyer from like most of my life, for whatever reason that was. I thought lawyers were super cool people and I wanted to be one. It turns out we're not, but that's what I wanted to do. And when it came time to apply to college, I didn't know how to do that. I was graduating high school and I hadn't applied to go to college, and fortuitously I ran into somebody who was doing on-site, admissions for the University of Nevada, Reno, in Chaparral's office while I was dropping off participation lists for a speech and debate tournament. And they said, hey, are you thinking about college? And I was like, well, I'd love to go to college. I want to be a lawyer, but I don't know how I'm going to do that because I don't know how to apply to college. I don't know how to get from point A to point B. And they said, well, do you have a transcript? And I was like, well, I can get you a copy. The registrar is right there. So I handed them a copy of my transcript. And the woman sitting at the table said, we would love to admit you to the University of Nevada, Reno. Do you know if you qualify for a Millennium Scholarship? And they helped get me connected with that. If she hadn't been sitting at that table that day, I don't know how I would have been here. I don't know how I would have gotten into college. I don't know. When they said to us, you got to go fill out a FAFSA, I was like, what is a FAFSA and how do I do that? Well, you got to get on a computer. And I was like, we don't have a computer. And so they're providing everything along that way to help these kids that just need somebody. They just need someone to either say like, hey, how can we make sure you get to school in the morning? How can we make sure you're fed? How can we make sure you have clothes on your back? Or if you need additional help with something, we can get you connected with that. If you're looking to graduate and you want to get into college, how can we help you get that just that missing piece? Right? These are kids who can do it. These are kids who can succeed. These are kids who we should believe in, and they just need that cheerleader for whatever that need is. And one of the beautiful things about Communities in Schools is they recognize that those needs are diverse. And by having that one-on-one interaction with the site coordinators, they can be that person that helps that kid just get to that next little thing. Because that's the thing that's going to make the difference for that student. And so that's why I believe in this program. I think the evidence-based pieces, and certainly the numbers bear that out. And this is a really small investment for the state to really help a lot of kids do what it is that we want them to do, which is to succeed. And so thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me that one last little bit. And thank you to the committee for all of your questions.
Thank you very much. And if you'll step back, we will go to those in support.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathaniel Wall, Clark County School District. Last time you guys will see me up here today. I just want to enthusiastically support communities and schools. As a former member of the CIS team as well, so many of our students, are right on that knife's edge, and the support that the site coordinators and the team at CIS are able to provide really makes a difference for so many students. They are able to imagine futures that weren't there for them, and they're able to support and wrap around these students with a caring adult, all in for kids, as they say, and it's just a great program. It's great people, and we support them. Thank you.
Good morning. I appreciate your time. I'm Woody Worthington with Senior Director of Government Affairs and Community Engagement at Green Our Planet. Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the Senate Committee on Finance. On behalf of Green Our Planet, a Nevada nonprofit, we are the largest garden provider in the United States and proudly support community and schools for dedication and bridge the gap between the students and the communities that they serve. Their work aligns with our commitment and community engagement in empowering youth. We also support Keeping Kids in Schools, Act SB 135. Passing this will strengthen efforts throughout Nevada to ensure students have the resources and support they need to succeed in education and beyond. Thank you for your time, commitment, and consideration.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przenski, here representing Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and I think we're in full support of communities in schools. Their record is amazing. The kids who graduated because of their impact on them is an amazing issue in itself, but the focus on attendance in schools is very important, and that's what this group is doing. Getting the kids to school, you have to show up for your education, so we're in full support of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Committee. Brian Wallace of the Nevada State Education Association. For the record, NSCA highly encourages the passage of SB 135 to provide those vital wraparound services. I cannot stress enough how much that truly impacts our students and then really impacts our educators and our ability to do our job within the classroom. Our members ask that you support SB 135. Our members also thank you and the bill's authors for your hard work and support of Nevada students and educators today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. AJ Delap with the Griffin Company on behalf of Nevada Gold Mines as well as Nevada Association of School Administrators. Both entities asked to urge the support of this measure. Nevada Gold Mines has contributed over $3.8 million to CIS since 2010, and they've certainly enjoyed that partnership with them and urge this passage, as well as Nevada Association of School Administrators have been involved with CIS for well over a decade as well. So we support this measure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you in finance. Thank you. Go ahead, please, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Association of School Boards, the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, and also the United Way of Northern Nevada and the Sierra. You have heard plenty of testimony this morning about how wonderful this program is. These appropriations are appropriate, and we very much support them. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, please, Mr. Shaver.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Dylan Shaver here today on behalf of your friends at the Washoe County School District in support of Senate Bill 135. It would be a big mistake not to acknowledge the strength of WCSD's partnership with communities in schools, and we are grateful during a session where you have so many competing priorities that this bill is before you. With me today is the president of the Washoe Washoe County School Board of Trustees, whose remarks I was about to read to you, but look, she's here herself.
Late entry to the game, but we'll take it. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Beth Smith, Bethsmith, and I am the elected president of the Washoe County School Board of Trustees. I am here today to urge your passage of Senate Bill 135 and to thank its sponsor, Senator Canizero, for supporting our community in this way. Every session, my colleagues and I approve a legislative platform that urges lawmakers to ensure appropriate wraparound services to support the students and families in our care. Communities and Schools has been a valuable partner for the Washoe County School District for many years. They play a pivotal role in supporting schools in some of our most distressed areas. In the 2023-24 school year, CIS supported nearly 10,000 students in Washoe County with individualized help, whether it was getting eyeglasses or clothes or school supplies or housing. The data shows that partnership with CIS is invaluable for students, for their teachers, and even our administrators. Their work reduces chronic absenteeism, empowers students to achieve better academic outcomes, and improves graduation rates. The positive impact Community and Schools has protects the investment Nevada makes in public education. Imagine if we had the resources to work with CIS on every campus. Imagine if we could ensure every student had access to the specific tools and attention they needed to be successful. Of course, I understand you're here to consider funding for a broad variety of competing and equally valuable priorities, and it is my sincere hope that when the time comes for you to vote on the state's budget, the tremendous value Communities and Schools provides districts across the state is taken into account. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you can join me and my colleagues at WCSD in supporting Bill 135. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
committee
and
members.
thank you for sliding in there. We appreciate you. Thank you. Any additional support here in Las Vegas? I'm sorry, here in Carson City. In Las Vegas, please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Samantha Barnes with Career Nevada, today on behalf of the Nevada Bankers Association in support of SB 135. The Nevada Bankers Association believes in the evidence-based model that the CISN uses to support Nevada students and encourages your support of this important measure. Thank you.
Thank you, and please go ahead when you're ready. I think there was somebody else at the table. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Good morning, Chair Dondero Loop and members of the Finance Committee. My name is Tara Rains, and I represent the Children's Advocacy Alliance as our Deputy Director. CAA is an independent voice for Nevada's children advancing systemic change in the areas of early childhood education, children's health, child welfare, and so that every child in Nevada thrives. I'm here to express our strong support for Senate Bill 135 for Communities and Schools. CIS of Nevada has been a cornerstone in our education system for nearly 20 years, providing critical support for students across all grade levels. You've heard a lot this morning about their incredible data outcomes, but what you haven't heard about is how CIS strategically partners to meet the needs of all Nevada's children. For example, through partnership with the UNLV practice, they provide mental health services to students in rural counties where there are few to no mental health providers. CIS also places full-time trained site coordinators in high-needs schools to provide school-wide case management and supports. With a strong track record and a high demand for school principals and districts, CIS of Nevada is a critical help to students in need. However, thank you for your support. This is our support of SB 165. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. SB 135.
Yes, apologies, SB 135.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Not that we won't take your support. Thank you very much. Seeing no one else in Las Vegas, is there anyone on the phone lines?
Yes, Chair. If you would like to provide testimony in support of SB 135, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello again, Kaylin Evans here, President of the Washoe Education Association. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, I want to thank Senate Majority Leader for bringing this bill forward and for her strong leadership and continued support for public education. Communities in schools is essential because it helps meet students' basic needs for their families as well, and so that they can focus on learning. Educators see firsthand that when students are struggling with these challenges, academics take a back seat. Programs like CIS help bridge that gap, and they are doing amazing work within our districts. The reality is public schools do far more than teach academics. They support the physical, emotional, and mental health of our children. They are the backbones of our community, yet we continue to grossly underfund them. As was previously noted, there's still a lot of work needed to be done on the current proposed education budget, and I think it's always important to keep in mind that this current proposed budget will force districts to make drastic cuts that will hurt children. We need the legislature to be bold in fixing this, increasing per pupil funding and supporting in critical, important programs like CIS. As an organization, we urge your support for SB 135. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next on the phone.
There are no other callers to provide support testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. Then we will go to opposition. Is there anyone here in opposition? In Las Vegas? Seeing none on the phone lines, please, opposition.
Thank you. If you would like to provide opposition testimony to SB 135, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers wishing to provide opposition testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to neutral here in the room in Carson City. Seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas. Seeing none, phone lines. Anyone in neutral?
If you would like to provide neutral testimony for SB 135, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers wishing to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, Senator Cannizzaro and team, is there anything that you would like to add before we close the hearing?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Laura Meyer for the record. I did want to include, we weren't sure who of all of our supporters would be able to make it today, so I wanted to include a couple of more names in support of this bill. Future Smiles, Nevada Mining Association, Strengthen Our Communities, and I Care for Kids are all in support of this bill as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we had Mr. Delap represented the mining group, but thank you very much for those names. All right, Senator Cannizzaro. Ms. Lancer.
Madam Chair, Senate Finance Committee, thank you so much for the opportunity.
And thank you for what you do. All right, thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 135, and we'll go on to our last bill on the agenda, and this is Senate Bill 190. This is a committee bill from the Senate Government Affairs Committee, and the chair of that committee, Senator Flores, is here to present the bill, and we are happy to have you and your team in finance, and please go ahead when you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and esteemed colleagues of the Senate Finance Committee. It's an honor to be here today. I am Senator Edgar Flores, for the record, proudly representing Senate District 2. And I have the distinguished honor to be here to present on Senate Bill 190. I have Ms. Melissa Kaiser, who is the CEO of the the Discovery Children's Museum here in Nevada, that also happens to be in my district. I had the privilege of touring it before session and learning about the many things that they are doing, incredibly exciting things that they are doing, the partnerships that they have, and the amount of kids that they serve, families, and how they work with our school district every single day. I was really excited about the work they were doing, how much they're fundraising, how hard they are working every single day. And I said, well, the legislative session is coming up, and when there is an opportunity, I want the state to have the opportunity to buy in slightly. Not carry the water, but just appreciate the work that's being done and buy into that vision for tomorrow. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd like to hand over the presentation so you can hear directly from our CEO as to what exciting projects we have and all the work that's being done.
Thank you very much. One thing we do really well in Nevada is have some really great children's activities. So please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you so much, Melissa Kaiser, Kaiser for the record. And I'd like to thank you, Chair Dondero-Loop, and members of the Senate Finance Committee, as well as Senator Edgar Flores and the Senate Government Affairs Committee for sponsoring Bill 190 today. We are very proud to be represented by the District 2 in Las Vegas. I've served as the CEO of the Discovery Children's Museum for 7 years, coming up this May, and also served as a director of the Association of Children's Museums Board, headquartered in Washington, D.C., coming up on 4 years this September. I'm proud to lead the first and longest running children's museum in Nevada, which was a pioneer of the children's museum movement in 1990 and continues to thrive 35 years later. Children's museums, as some of you may know, are interactive, hands-on learning spaces featuring exhibits and activities that engage children in science, technology, engineering, art, and math through play. With spaces for role-playing, problem-solving, and sensory experiences, they foster critical thinking, a love of learning, and first ideas about what a child wants to be when they grow up. So we've heard that theme a lot today. And on the presentation screen, you'll see one of my favorite quotes by naturalist and author Diane Ackerman, that play is the brain's favorite way of learning. So next slide. So Discovery's mission and vision is to ignite a love of lifelong learning where all members of our community are invited to have the playful and educational experiences that we offer. I think there's a different slide, a mission vision slide that's maybe missing. It's okay. And our vision is to lead through partnership in the community to reach and inspire every child to become an innovative thinker and go on to contribute positively to Nevada's workforce and society as a whole. Next slide. Thank you. So here are some of our statistics at a glance. We currently have a $5.5 million operating budget, excluding capital. We employ approximately 100 staff members, including individuals needing workforce assistance and 17 YouthWorks teen interns. We hold $7.4 million in investments, excluding savings, and $44 million total in net assets. We have occupied a 6,000 square foot building adjacent to the Smith Center for the Performing Arts in Symphony Park since 2013, 26,000 square feet of which is exhibit space spanning 3 floors and 9 exhibits. We serve over 250,000 visitors each year, the majority of which are local to Nevada, and 14,000 Title I school field trip students. Our audience is the region, next slide, thanks. Our audience is the region's approximately 375,000 children ages birth through 12, plus their families and caregivers. Our community is a diverse majority-minority community with nearly 19% of children living in poverty. Approximately 25% of our annual attendance comes from the Museums for All program, which offers $5 admission to families on public assistance. Another 5% of our visitors receive free access through our partnership with the Las Vegas Clark County Library District. Over the next 10 years, Discovery expects to welcome 2.6 million visitors, with at least 780,000 visitors receiving public assistance, although the number of families taking advantage of our public assistance programs is on the rise. Next slide. So why we're here. The $500,000 in appropriation funds that we are seeking would be to support a holistic initiative to renew and expand exhibits across our 15-year-old museum, with funds specifically supporting our new early childhood education galleries, exhibits, and literacy programs, which make up about $2.7 million, or 36% of our new exhibits overall. We've had success raising 75% of needed funds for new exhibits from public and private sources since we launched our $25 million campaign in 2021. Although instead of completing installation of our projects in 3 years, we've expanded our timeline to 5 years to conclude by June 2026. We have successfully raised funds to complete detailed designs of our new exhibit spaces, but are committed to having 80% of funds in hand before we hit go on fabrication and interpretive plans. Appropriation funding would allow us to reach that benchmark for building out our new early childhood education spaces. Next slide. So workforce development, finally we get to some pictures of how we do what we do, and you'll see that we've included the quote that we believe workforce development begins at birth. As we completed master planning for the new spaces, we focused on Nevada industry-specific priorities, including healthcare, robotics, skilled trades. It's a little hard to see, but you've got our Nevada Gold Mines exhibit in top and center there, one of our strong supporters as well, and sustainable practices for water conservation and a balanced energy mix for our state. Next slide. So this is an overview of our Toddler Town Gallery. If you've ever been to our museum, it is is a dedicated gallery for children ages birth through 5 years old. This drawing illustrates a 30% expansion of programming space, an expanded reading zone in the bottom right of your screen, a refreshed crawl zone, which removes it from its current place at the center of the Nevada Gold Mines mining exhibit, and a sensory cool-down room and other resources for parents and caregivers. Next slide. On Thursday and Friday mornings at the museum, we run Toddler Tales literacy programs for preschool-age children free of charge to any visitor in the museum. And it can get crowded, so there's some pictures of the program crowded into a very small nook and cranny in our Toddler Town space. In the past year, we've provided over 88 workshops featuring community artists and offering interactive read-alouds with music and movement components. We've hosted 15 workshops in partnership with the Las Vegas Clark County School District, distributed over 1,500 free books and brain boxes to participants, and hosted 30 kinder coding robotics literacy programs. We've also collected 314 surveys evaluating children's progress towards literacy goals from the caregiver perspective. So overall, the goal of these literacy programs are to increase parental involvement as their child's first teacher and in the development of literacy skills. Next slide. In partnership with the L3 Coalition, Lifting Literacy Liberation, Discovery has joined forces with over 25 community partners with the goal of helping to double the Clark County School District's third grade reading proficiency from 32% to 64% by 2030. So I mentioned that we do everything in partnership, and there is an impressive list there of just a scratch of those that we work with. Next slide. Just going to move very quickly through the next few slides, which are images of some of the other early childhood education spaces being redesigned. Our very popular water exhibit. You'll see the designs on screen. Next slide. This exhibit incorporates content from the Southern Nevada Water Authority to focus on water conservation awareness and solutions. Next slide. It was important to us to highlight Nevada as a leader in water conservation and to help kids understand what they can do to make a difference. Next slide. And then our most ambitious undertaking, it looks like a Willy Wonka, something about to take off there, Desert to the Stars, is a multi-story climber that expands through the center of the building to the rooftop. And next slide. This is just a peek at the entrance to the climber, which will include progressive physical activities for children, starting at the bottom with toddlers, where They'll learn balancing, animal identification, and then progress through slot canyons, camping, stargazing, and our cloud climber at the end. Also showing here is just a sample of what interpretive planning means. So that word is really, how do you take the educational content? Here you see interpretive bilingual signage that incorporates earth science lessons as well as literacy throughout the exhibits. So that is the conclusion of the presentation, and just wanted to thank everyone again. We look forward to your questions. We can't wait for you to see the new spaces and support this important resource for our youngest learners in Nevada.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate all you're doing with little people and or younger people. And I have watched this program grow over the years and change facilities, so thank you for everything. I believe Senator Wynn has a question.
I think one of the saddest moments was when the Discovery Museum was redistricted to Senator Flores and taken out of my district. So, but I will say, the Discovery Museum opened up when my youngest was 3 years old, and I'm sure Senator Flores will spend a great deal of time there in the near future if he doesn't already. But it was an integral part of our daily activities, and so I love to see the good work that you are doing in there. In this appropriation, you were talking about using it mostly on that first floor renovation of the gallery and expansion on the first floor. Is that the early childhood area that you're talking about and expanding in that dark? I think it's on one of your slides here on Toddler Town.
Thank you, Senator Wynn, for the question. Melissa Kaiser for the record. All three of all the exhibits that I presented are on the first floor, but we are focusing appropriation funding in the Toddler Town gallery. That is correct.
I understand why the Water World is on the first floor, but as a parent, it was always having to do that last. So when my children were soaking wet, that we were going home at that time. But I can't get enough about what you guys are doing in this program. Can I talk about some of the other partnerships that you've been able to utilize the space at the Children's Museum and how that impacts? I've been to multiple panels, multiple events with nonprofit organizations that have conducted meetings and conferences and summits in your space. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you've been able to really bring in other community partners?
Thank you, Senator Wynn, for the question. Melissa Kaiser for the record. I mentioned as part of the organization's mission and vision that we do work in community partnership, and the blessing we have is a wonderful space. It's a 5,000 square foot space for programs and rentals even, and we lend that space often to other nonprofits in the community. Communities and Schools has been a partner. Public Education Foundation did the launch of their chronic absenteeism website there. We've hosted the Education Committee of the Vegas Chamber, our next door neighbor, really to be a neutral ground for education. We hope that we're seen as a hub for the community. It brings people through our doors and our thresholds. A lot of people walk by the museum when they go to the Smith Center and say, I've never been in there, I don't have a child to bring in. And when you ride the elevator up with children going to experience their fun day as you're coming to maybe a heavy meeting of an education subcommittee, it's a good grounding place for us. But ultimately, I listed 25 partners that we work with. I recently presented a full partnership presentation to our Chairman's Advisory Council and the board. Everything that we do is in partnership. I mentioned the Clark County School District, the Clark County Library District, but we work with all of the other library districts as well, Henderson, City of North Las Vegas. We are really spanning touching every partner. We work with those with help in workforce development. That's a really critical part of what we do, working with DRC, working with Project Redirect, working with autism organizations. So I could probably try to rattle off even more, but I think that hits some of the picture of how we partner in the community.
No, thank you. Thank you for that, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Additional questions from the committee? I just have one. What is your main, I know you service up to 12, but is that toddler your sweet spot? I feel like that's a spot where caregivers and preschools and grandparents and parents, obviously, all of them, because the kids aren't always in school full time at that point. So what is your sweet spot with your ages?
Thank you for that question, Madam Chair. Melissa Kaiser for the record. So during the school day, our sweet spot is the pre-kindergarten set. So that's why we bring in so many programs. We call it the stroller set. We call it the moms influencers that we focus on in terms of availability and capacity. And when you come into the museum any weekday, that's who we're catering to. Of course, our education progresses by floor, just like our climber will. So I'd say, the 7-year-old is really excited because they can tell their parents, I want to come back to that museum. But I would say that early childhood education is our sweet spot, is our focus.
The other thing that I have noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I've been down there, I have also noticed that we have out-of-town visitors who bring children to school, to Las Vegas. And so while they're here, maybe the trade-off is mom and dad are going to go here and we'll take you there if you'll go here, right? And so we do have out-of-town visitors that do that visit.
Yes, and thank you for that. Madam Chair, Melissa Kaiser, for the record, we serve about 20% 20 to 25, depending on the year, of out-of-state visitors to the museum, even international visitors to the museum. Las Vegas is such a metropolitan area. We have parents that visit say, we see children's museums all over the country, and we can't believe what an incredible resource you have here. For spring break week alone, we have 3 spring break weeks because we have all of the Arizona kids coming in. We have then all of the Utah kids coming in, the California kids coming in. So our spring break week is packed full with visitors that are driving to Las Vegas and serving those parts of our country as well.
Thank you very much. I just think it's important for all of us to know that we're also serving our out-of-town visitors who are, like I said, coming here with their families. So thank you very much. Oh, Senator Canizero.
This now has prompted just mostly a comment. I remember going to the Discovery Museum well before it was in this new fabulous location as a kid. I loved the store. I didn't know how much I don't know why playing in the grocery store was the most fascinating thing to me, but I really loved it. And turns out my toddler, who is like your prime audience, also loves the grocery store and also loves shopping at the grocery store. And
That's such a surprise to me.
I know. And the Raiders exhibit. Yes. He loves that too with the football. So I just have to say, as your prime target audience over here, we love the Discovery Museum. You guys are doing a great job. So that's what I had to add there.
Thank you for the real life experience. Thank you very much. All right. Seeing no more questions or comments, if you don't have anything else, we'll go on to support. And with that, I'll call anyone in support up to the desk here in Carson City. In Las Vegas, please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair and esteemed members of the Finance Committee. For the record, Boyd Nelson, Boydnelson. I serve as chair of the board for Discovery Children's Museum. And on behalf of our entire board, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today, as well as members of the Senate Government Affairs Committee for sponsoring Senate Bill 190, and of course, Senator Edgar Flores, thank you for your support. Our 24 trustees represent a broad range of industries and interests in Nevada, yet we all come together with this singular mission to ignite the lifelong love of learning in every youngster who visits the museum. Most of our trustees have children or grandchildren of their own, and we all recognize that to live a productive, successful life, a child must experience a spark, a moment early in their development when they realize that learning is fun and subjects like science and math are cool. Children who don't discover this joy of learning usually fall behind. Every exhibit the museum builds, funds, and maintains is designed to inspire children through playful learning. In my day job as a CFO, I think a lot about investing. Early childhood education is one of the most impactful economic investments we can make. A study showed that every dollar spent on early childhood education yields up to $13 in long-term benefits, from higher lifetime earnings to reduced public service costs. Yet Nevada ranks 40th in the nation for preschool enrollment, and only 32% of Clark County third graders are reading at grade level. Investing in early childhood education will pay dividends, not just for these children, but for Nevada's future, ensuring our workforce and economy are better prepared for high-demand careers. Over the next 10 years, the proposed exhibits addressed by Senate Bill 190 will impact millions of children, many from disadvantaged backgrounds. This investment will give these children a spark moment and brighten not only their futures, but also the economic future of Nevada. We look forward to your support and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your time with this group. Anyone else in support in Las Vegas? Not seeing any, we'll go to the phone lines. Phone line, anybody in support?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to provide support testimony for SB 190, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Hardworking Committee. This is Dora Martinez with the Nevada Disability Action Coalition, and we wholeheartedly support this bill and hope that Ms. Kaiser will reach out to the Nevada Governor's Council on Developmental Disability, because there are disabled students, kids, toddlers who also wants to be included, and ASL is important, and QR code is sufficient for people who are visually impaired so they can be included in reading or recognizing the display that you have at the museum. Thank you, Madam Chair. Take care. Drink lots of water. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. With that, anyone else on the phone line?
Yes. Madam Chair, members of the Finance Committee, and Senator Flores, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Suken Shah, S-U-K-E-N-S-H-A-H, and I'm an officer of the board and secretary of the Discovery Children's Museum, as well as a 25-year resident of Las Vegas. I strongly support SB 190, which will enhance early childhood education by improving key learning spaces at the museum, ensuring Nevada's youngest learners have access to high-quality, play-based experiences. As a father of a 5-year-old who loves discovery and the grocery store, I have seen firsthand how interactive learning fosters curiosity, builds foundational skills, and ignites a lifelong love of learning. The proposed funding will allow us to redesign exhibits such as Toddler Town, which strengthens early literacy, and Desert to the Stars, a reimagined climber introducing earth sciences with a new accessibility feature. It will also support research-driven programs and evaluation to ensure long-lasting educational impact. Beyond early education, Discovery helps shape Nevada's future workforce by introducing children to key industries such as healthcare, robotics, and sustainable energy. With over 260,000 annual visitors, 80% of whom are local, Discovery is a vital community resource providing access to meaningful learning experiences for all children, including more than 228,000 from low-income households through the Museums for All program. The proposed improvements will serve an estimated 2.6 million visitors, ensuring future generations have resources to learn, grow, and thrive. I urge strong support for SB 190 to invest in Nevada's children and our collective future. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Any additional callers on the phone line?
Thank you, Chair. There are no other callers to provide support testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. Anyone in opposition here in Las Vegas or Carson City? Right church, wrong pew. Las Vegas, anyone in opposition? On the phone line, anyone in opposition?
If you would like to provide opposition testimony for SB 190, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers wishing to provide opposition testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to neutral here in Carson City, Las Vegas, and on the phone line, please.
If you would like to provide neutral testimony for SB 190, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers wishing to provide neutral testimony at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, any closing comments?
Melissa Kaiser for the record. And I just wanted to extend my heartfelt thanks again to Madam Chair and the members of the Senate Finance Committee this morning. And just my humility, my humble respect. We have been in this museum for the current building for 15 years, but it's been since 1996 since the museum has been before this committee with a request. So we are just so grateful, and this is such an important resource for our children, and can't wait for you to see it. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senator Edgar Flores, for the record, Madam Chair, just thank you for your indulgence. Majority Leader and esteemed colleagues of the Finance Committee, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 190. And with we have one last agenda item, public comment. For those providing public comment, please remember to state and spell your name for the record and then begin your statement. To call in to provide public comment, please dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, please enter 886-6934-4290, and then press pound. When prompted for participant ID, please press pound. The call-in information is also on the agenda if you didn't get all that. So with that, I will take public comment here in Carson City. Seeing none, Las Vegas, any public comment? We will go to the phone lines. Phone lines, is there anyone for public comment?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to provide public comment today, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank everyone for being here today and spending some time with us this morning. Tomorrow morning, we will have Human Services Joint Subcommittee starting promptly at 8 a.m. There will be no General Government Joint Subcommittee meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning. So if you were on that subcommittee, you have tomorrow morning off. So this meeting is adjourned.